Hey guys, this is a part two to like a long story kind of video where I'll just talk about things that have happened in my life and stuff that I've been through, just so that you guys can get to know me a little bit more and know a little bit more about the things that I've gone through. And it'll be just a mishmash of different topics. Um, Probably gonna talk a little bit more about my mom today, about other things. I haven't spoken to my mom in almost 2 months now. It's been hard. It really has, because she's my mom. Even though she isn't a good person, I still want to talk to her and I still want to make sure that everything's okay, but she's not a good person. I think the thing that's making it the hardest for me right now is that I have a little brother. He's 7 years old. I love him to death, and I don't get to see him right now because I'm not talking to my mom, and I know that she wouldn't let me anywhere near him right now. I'm worried for him. I really am. Last time I saw him was probably around Thanksgiving time, and I noticed that they just are not really disciplining him, like, at all. They just kind of let him get away with whatever. Which, I mean, it's better than the alternative, which is what I went through, which was a lot of abuse and yelling and hitting and screaming. I mean, I'm glad they're not treating him the way that she treated me, because I wouldn't stand for that, But I just kind of wish that they would put their foot down a little bit, because, if he has no kind of discipline and if he just thinks he can get away with whatever he wants, then, what's going to happen once he gets into, bigger grades of school and stuff and he starts acting like that? Like, I want him to have a safe and happy childhood. I want him to grow up a way better than I did. But I also don't want to see him turn into some awful kid. I want to see him grow up and be the sweet child that I know he is. And it also hurts me that, and I don't like being the jealous type about it, and I know that I shouldn't be. I mean, I'm happy that he's being treated better, but at the same time, like, where was that when I was, when I was growing up? I get it. I probably remind my mom of the person she hates the most, and she took that out on me. And that wasn't fair, but I guess I can kind of understand where she was coming from with that. And it was kind of the same way with my stepdad's family. They treated me decently. They kind of judged me a little bit because I was, I was like the black sheep of the family. I was a little weird. I was a little punk, a little emo. But, I never really felt like I genuinely fit in on that side of the family. But I see how much they love Eli and how nice they treat Eli. And, he's my stepdad's kid. I get it. He's blood. He's related to them by blood. And I'm not. That's okay. We all go through points in our lives where we feel like we don't fit in. And that's a normal feeling to have, that's a normal thing to struggle with. What you gotta do is just find people that you can talk to and that you feel comfortable around. And that's what's really important in life, is to just make sure that you are comfortable being yourself around people. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you don't feel comfortable, or you don't feel like you can express yourself the way that you want to, then that's just not really a safe environment for you to be in. And, I spent about 18 years not really feeling comfortable with myself, struggling to really figure out who I was as a person. I've been through a lot of hardships in my life. I've had some pretty bad trauma, mostly childhood related, but, I've had other traumas too that have led me to a different kind of lifestyle, a different kind of personality. They've molded me and shaped me into the person that I am today. Everybody struggles to do that. Everybody is shaped by the experiences and things that happen in their life. And while some of my experiences may have not been very good, they've still turned me into who I am today. And I can kind of say with some confidence that I do love myself. I'm working on it a little bit every day. I have my coping mechanisms. I have my instruments, my singing, my art. I have a wide variety of things that I do for fun to de-stress and calm myself down when I need to. I guess this is kind of where I can start to open up a little bit more about some of my coping mechanisms. So I'm an age regressor. Okay, now, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is someone who, due to trauma or stress, or, even if they just want a break from the, living, from like adult life and doing like big people things, sometimes you just want to regress back to a younger state of mind where things are easier to deal with and you don't have to face your struggles head on. You can cope with them in a healthier way. Like I'll watch cartoons, I'll use sippy cups. I have a lot of stuffed animals. I like coloring with crayons. And it's not a sexual thing at all for me. It is strictly just like a way to de-stress or to cope with the things that I've been through in life, and as a way to make me feel better. And I always come out of it feeling better than I did when I go into it. I'm not always in little space, but I do occasionally just slip into it as a way to make my day a bit better. And to just, have fun, like I'll throw a tea party or whatever. And I do believe that part of the reason that I do this is due to the fact that I didn't have much of a childhood growing up. My mom would take stuffed animals and put them in garbage bags for garage sales without asking me. I now know for a fact that sometimes when we moved, I would usually go and spend the night at a friend's house and let my mom pack up my stuff when I was younger, but I would always notice that things were missing. So I started packing up my own room, and that's kind of when I started to figure out that she was like taking away things that she said I was too old for. Which, I mean, I don't think you're ever too old for things like stuffed animals or like I always had a very high reading level. I always, I was a smart kid. I always read books that were way above my grade level, but, some part of me still enjoyed reading the books that were more for my age group. And my mom hated that. She would always get so mad about that. And, so I would have to sneak those books at school and read books that were for teens, like young kids. And, being forced to grow up so fast, you really miss out on a lot of important things in your childhood. One thing I'm very thankful for is the fact that even though I didn't have much of a childhood, I have always kept my sense of wonder about the world and my imagination and just the joy that I can feel from the simplest little things. And I love that. I love being able to have that still, despite all the things that I've been through, I've been in rough relationships with people who have taken advantage of me. I've been around people who have hurt me, physically, emotionally, mentally. And if you ever find yourself in one of these situations, just know that, you can get out of those. It's not going to be easy. But if you start to notice red flags and signs that maybe you're not in a healthy environment, you need to find a way to get out or cope with it or talk to somebody, like don't just lay there and take it like I did for 18 years. Like I finally had just had enough and just left. I remember that day very, very vividly, the day I left. After I graduated high school, I spent most of my days at home alone while my mom was at work at the daycare. And, I worked at Sonic and Troop just down the road. It was just like a very short walk to get to work. And, I had work later that afternoon, so I thought, okay, I'll take a bath. And, I decided I was going to have some of my mom's alcohol because I was depressed as all get out. And, so I took the tiniest amount of her Crown and filled the rest of the cup up with Coke. You know, I just barely like a drop, like not even that much. And that was when I started to feel worse. And I self-harmed. And my mom came home, found that I was drinking, found that I was self-harming, and she said to me, "Your father will deal with you when he gets home." And I knew that that meant that I was going to get my ass beat. You know, I was 18, yeah, I still got my ass whooped. It's a little not okay, you know? Where's the cutoff on that? But I remember being so scared. I was so scared. I had work in just a few hours. She left, went back to work. She had just stopped by home early to grab something. So I texted my boyfriend and I said, "Hey, I need to leave. I don't want to be here anymore." So I packed a suitcase with some clothes, a stuffed animal, everything I thought I would need, and I went to work that night. I left a note under my mom's pillow telling her that I wouldn't be coming back, because my mom always said that if I ever left, I would never be allowed back. So I told her I wouldn't be coming back. And I left. I went to work. I told everybody what was going on. I cried a lot. I got a lot of support, a lot of hugs. And Charlie picked me up from work that night. And I never went back. I remember I stayed working at Sonic for a little bit. And I remember I asked my mom to bring me my ID and my cards and you know, my birth certificate and social security card and stuff. And she came up to Sonic and she was so mad at me and she just threw them out the window at me, and you know, they hit the parking lot. I remember the first time I got drunk after I left. You know, I had been out of my mom's house for, you know, a couple days, and that first night was so rough. I remember how bad that first night was. I was just so upset and so scared. I just wanted to cry, and I just wanted to... It was such a hard night for me. It really was. And I remember first time Charlie went out, he got some alcohol and he got me some Seagrams. That was my first time getting drunk that night, and for the first time since I had left, I finally felt okay for once. And you know, it was a nice night. And then I started drinking more. Alcohol became kind of like a crutch for me. And so I started drinking more, and then Charlie and I got our own apartment. I still talked to my mom, you know, things were okay. I mean, she was still treating me like crud, but you know, we were talking. And I remember in 2018, you know, I went to Thanksgiving at my grandma Lisa's house. Everything was great. She seemed to be just fine. And then I lost my pawpaw. And then I was at my Granny Meek's house. This is on my biological father's side of the family, and we were over there just visiting with family after he had just passed away, and my granny informed me, "Hey, you can leave if you want, but your dad is going to be here in a little bit." So I took a deep breath and I texted Charlie and I said, "I think I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna meet my dad." And he was worried for me, and you know, I was nervous. And when he walked through the door and I saw him, you know, I was shaking like a leaf, because I had spent so many years believing all these awful stories my mother had told me that he was this awful man. And when I saw him, I walked up to him and he looked like he was about to cry, and he hugged me so tight, and it was in that moment that like I knew that like this is what it's supposed to feel like. Parents' love, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I'm sorry. I knew this was going to be an emotional video, but I felt so happy, you know? And I spent that whole night just talking to him about anything and everything. I told him about my age regression, and we talked about my mom, and you know, but I didn't ask him, you know, like what had happened between him and her. I didn't know him that much yet, and you know, we just slowly got to know each other, and he was just super supportive, and he was so excited to just see me, and we took pictures together, and then we started trying to hang out more often, and we got together every once in a while. And I remember the second or third time we were hanging out, I finally It was me, him, and Charlie. We were sitting in here in the living room at my apartment. And it had been bugging me for a while, so I turned around and I faced him and I said, I want to ask you a question. And so I asked him about what had happened between him and Mom, and I told him the stories that Mom had told me, and just saw him just kind of like chuckle to himself because he knew that she had been lying to me, that she had been telling me these stories, twisting things, making them seem different than they really were, and he told me the truth. And after hearing his side and after hearing my mom's side, I know my dad's side of the story is the true side of the story. I mean, I lived with that crazy woman for 18 years. I knew that she was psycho. And ever since that moment when I finally got to talk to him about it, we talk about it a lot. And he's someone who I can really go to when I'm struggling with thoughts on my mom because, he's been there, he's dealt with her. And we hang out every Tuesday. He's become a very big support in my life. He helps me deal with a lot of stuff that I go through. And he's always there with support and love and kindness. And I still get choked up whenever he does anything even remotely kind or parental towards me because my brain doesn't know how to process things like that, But I love him. I love my dad. And I love my stepdad too. I mean, he adopted me into his family and he was always there for me. He raised me. I love both my dads. I'm not trying to replace anyone, and I'm sure that that's probably what he thinks now. And to the dad that raised me, to the dad that adopted me, I love you. You mean a lot to me. You were there for me, I was always daddy's little girl. I remember him taking me to go see movies and not making me take my medication so I could just eat a lot of food. And I always hoped that if things went south for me and Mom that I could always go to him. But lately, I don't know. After what happened with Christmas, I tried to reach out to him and tell him, hey, come pick up your Christmas presents. I still want you in my life. I still want to talk to you and Eli. And he just, nothing, no response, no anything. And that hurt. That hurt a lot. Because Charlie was always telling me if I stopped talking to my mom, at least I'd have Davey to talk to, But I don't. It's like I'm completely cut out. I'm thankful to have my dad. But it still hurts. Because, you really think that you can trust in somebody no matter how different you may be from them. Whether you're related to them by blood or not. Whether they raised you or didn't. I mean, it's just you think that you can put your trust into someone. And when they finally break that last little bit of trust, it just breaks you inside. And you don't know what to do. You don't know how to feel. You don't know what to say. Part of you wants to scream at the world, asking it why. Why do you put people through things like this? Why do you make people hurt? But the world isn't going to give you an answer. You just got to take every day as it comes. Just day by day, little by little, build yourself back up. Become stronger. And learn to love yourself and love the person that you have become because of your struggles and your hardships. And your hardships probably aren't going to stop completely, but they'll get easier to deal with. They'll get easier to go through. And you'll learn that while hardships may suck, you're still all in one piece. You're still alive. You're still fighting the fight. I mean, you're doing everything you can to succeed in life, no matter what life is throwing at you. And that's what I want you guys to take away from my video today, is just that keep fighting. Don't give up. Live your life the way you want to live it. Don't let anyone else tell you how you should live your life or what you should be or who you should be. Only you know the person that you want to be. And only you know how you're going to get there. So, do me a favor and don't give up on yourself. Today, if you do me a favor, I want you, after this video, to go look in the mirror, and I want you to look at yourself and tell yourself that you are strong and that you can do this and that you deserve to be happy. And I want you to say that until you believe it every day. Because I'm telling you, eventually, you will learn to love yourself and you will learn to be happy. And that's what's important in life, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a good one. Bye, everyone.